Thank you very much, Indradyumna Maharaj, for being here today, and all of you who are traveling and taking in the feelings of all these places. I first offer my respectful obeisances to His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, to His Divine Grace Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura, and to His Holiness Indradyumna Maharaj, and all the assembled devotees. Vancha kalpatarubhascha kripa sindhabhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. There's only one possibility of becoming elevated in Krishna consciousness, coming in contact with the pure devotee of the Lord, as mentioned by Prahlad Maharaj, Rahuganai tattapasa nayati nacheje nirvapanad grihadva. He mentions there are many different processes for purification, that one may do austerities, militantly trying to control the senses, and one can also use the mind wonderfully to divide the categories of the universe, to dissect it and therefore see beyond the illusion. And one may, in various ways, perform duties for the grihastha ashram or the sannyas ashram, but Prahlad Maharaj says that paramo, unless one gets the opportunity to serve a completely pure devotee. And he gives the metaphor of taking a bath, taking the dust from the lotus feet of such a person and smearing one's body with it, as if taking abhishek, rajo-bhishekam. Raja means dust. So you're taking an abhishek in the dust of the feet of a pure devotee, which means to give up one's own egoistic idea of what's good for oneself, and to accept that I need guidance, and take to the service of a pure devotee. And Srila Prabhupada, as Indradyumna Maharaj mentioned, when he came here and walked up the steps, and those steps are perfectly preserved downstairs, I always thrill when I see them, imagining that fateful time in which Prabhupada walked up the steps. I somehow feel that if I walk up them also, that I can re-experience what you described as the first time anyone comes to see that I want to put I want to put myself in the hands of Kṛṣṇa. Sarvadharman parityaja, Kṛṣṇa says, and one realizes that, okay, that's it. Bahunam jamanamante jnanamam prapadite vasudeva sarvamiti sa mahatma sudurlabha. It's a rare opportunity in the sojourn of any living being to come to this realization that enough's enough. And now I found my shelter. And Srila Prabhupada took up this legacy, the great legacy of pure devotees who were associating together. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur had the association of Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj, who was considered the emperor of all the Vaishnavas. And Nitai Namaneche Namarahate Sharamulyanam Dite Chere, which we were singing earlier, as he entered into the kirtan of Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj and saw that even though he was invalid, he would dance in ecstasy when the holy name was being sung, especially the names of Lord Nityananda. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, a pure devotee himself, had been connected with many of the intellectuals in Bengal and other places who had formed a society to figure out a way in which to benefit the world was confusing times, although I have a hunch that there's always confusing times. When aren't there confusing times? Oftentimes we look at one another and think things are really bad now, but I can remember in kindergarten thinking that when President Kennedy got shot and they sent us home, and I thought, this is the way it's going to be. I don't think I like this very much. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the great thinkers of the time, were looking into various world scriptures. Bhaktivinoda Thakur obviously had studied widely, and his tone is ecumenical. He was looking for the essence of all religious processes. And of course, when he found the teachings of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which is noteworthy, that was not easy to do at that time, because he couldn't get a copy of the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Gopi Pranadana Prabhu once told us that in his research he was looking for a particular book, and he looked all over the planet and he couldn't find it, till finally, after years, he came in contact with it. We can never take for granted the fact that due to Śrīla Prabhupada, Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura, and these great Ācāryas, they had a scheme to make sure that we all had contact with the guidance we need through Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. In any case, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, after finding the teachings of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu amidst the various world teachings, had apparently become a convert, the first of anyone to convert in the modern age to Lord Chaitanya's movement. Of course, we understand that he's a Nitya Siddha, as Maharaj was pointing out, about the associates who come down to help Lord Chaitanya spread the Sankirtan movement, or Lord Kṛṣṇa in his Leela. But oftentimes, such acharyas go through life situations that appear as if they're evolving. However, it's quite rapid, the way they evolve. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur then became the messenger for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, writing about him, giving the philosophy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu concisely in a book about his teachings, which Maharaj mentioned this afternoon, that he sent to luminaries around the world and universities as well. McGill University was one of the recipients. That's in Canada. Go Canada. And he also sent to Thoreau, Emerson, and other scholars around the world to introduce them to the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. Apparently there was some semblance of common sense at the time that you could expect that if someone, a great thinker of the world, would receive such a thing, that they might take it up. And at that time, Bhaktivinoda Thakur's time of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, as he was in a budding way conceiving of a way to spread the teachings of Śrīla Bhaktivinoda, of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu all over the world, there wasn't much organization for a movement. That came with his son, Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura, who conceptualized a movement that would be able to spread all over the world. He was Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta, to organize in such a way that it spread all over India in an amazing way. When there's just pure devotees, you really don't need much organization. They organize themselves. They're already organized. But when you want masses of people to come into a teaching under the guidance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as an example, then it requires some structure, some organization. Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta, in some of his writings, reluctantly took it up, and he did so after much consideration, including after his father, who was his spiritual master, his Shiksha Guru, and his Diksha Guru had passed away. He had thought about how to carry on after that. And then he had performed austerities, chanting 1 billion names of Kṛṣṇa, sitting in solitude and chanting, whether it was raining or it was freezing or it was hot. And he went on chanting for 10 years. Then he had a revelation that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Panchatattva, wanted him to spread the teachings around the world. It was under those circumstances when he had already decided. It's powerful when you decide something, isn't it? When you come to the point of saying, okay, I'm doing this. Even though I'm inept, practically I may think about myself, which is actually true. I'm going to do it. Prabhupada points this out in the Bhagavad-gītā in the verse 331, where Kṛṣṇa says that if you just accept his teachings as true and say, whatever you say, that's it. Prabhupada points out in the purport that even if a person's very simple, but they accept that, then they'll be successful. Whereas somebody who's self-guided and intellectually conceited, thinking that I know better, that person will never be successful. So Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta also had written about how institutions can be the death of spontaneous devotional service. But how to balance all that? In the course of considering this, he was gathering the best and brightest from around India. Many of highly educated young people, much like ones I'm looking at right now, who are in the top percentile of the world as far as education goes and as far as their backgrounds go. He was looking for such personalities to introduce to Lord Chaitanya's movement. After all, what's the use of so much education? Dharma swanustita pumsam vishvaksena katasuya notpadi yadiratim shrama eva kevalam. Sutta Goswami says, shrama, do you need to say it 3 times? Eva, he kevalam. Absolutely, totally a waste of time, unless you're able to connect it to Kṛṣṇa. And there's plenty of people out there that have high education, so much training, and then, as my friend Ruchi, when we were on Sankirtan, when we were mere adolescents distributing books in airports, and people would tell us, why don't you get a job? He would say, well, how about we learn how to put the stripes in toothpaste or manufacture cigarettes like other people are doing, making a mockery of the idea that a job would be better than what we were doing, which was distributing the knowledge of the Guru Parampara. So he gathered together so many of the most intelligent young people of India and entrusted them with the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. And then at that time he met our future founder Acharya of ISKCON and had given him the order here to spread it around the world. And Srila Prabhupada took it up. He was successful. And as we discussed earlier, he credited his success with the following of his spiritual master's orders. The mood and method. Mood and method are both important. In that regard, Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura had written a song when the devotees moved from this place to the Bug Bazaar temple, which was, as far as infrastructure goes, a huge upgrade. This place at that time was, as Prabhupada described it, a slum. And in fact, the devotees were very poor here. Some had said in the Gaudiya Math they were so poor when they lived here that they could barely afford rice, which is really hard to believe in Bengal. Although rice has fluctuated over time, the price in absurd ways, actually even causing starvation in some places. But the fact was that it was vibrant. It was a vibrant place where the devotees were going out to teach Krishna consciousness. And Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta was so pleased with that mood. On the way to Bagh Bazaar, which is a huge marble temple that one of his disciples had expended his entire fortune on, and incidentally had passed away 2 days before it opened, being exhausted not only financially but also having, if anybody's spent any time constructing anything, there's more decisions per hour in construction than any other activity in the world. And the deities were moved on chariots. Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura had written a mantra, pūjala gaurava-bhaṅge. It's in your songbook. It's near the end. I have it marked actually. There's flags there. And in this mantra, he says that we will work hard on this plane. This plane means iha, in this world, to utilize all kinds of technologies, wealth, to spread the Krishna consciousness movement. The Śrīmad Bhāgavatam points out that the highest of devotees are those who have compassion for others. The Bhagavad-gītā also, Kṛṣṇa says, ātma-pamyena sarvatra samaṁ paśyati Arjuna, sukhaṁ yadi duḥkhaṁ, sa yogi paramo mataḥ. There's no better yogi, he said, than somebody who has compassion for others. And Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura had written extensively railing against those who would go off to a solitary place and make a show of being advanced by chanting. He wanted a worldwide movement that would touch the hearts of people everywhere, even as the Bhagavatam has announced, kirāta-hūṇāndhra-pulinda-pulkaśā, ābhīra-śumbhā kirāta-hūṇāndhra-pulinda-pulkaśā, ābhīra-śumbhā yavanāḥ khaśādayaḥ, yene ca pāpa yad-apāśrayāśrayāḥ śudyanti tasmai pava Viṣṇave namah. Meaning, everybody can become converted to their original transcendental position as a servitor of the Lord by the power of Lord Viṣṇu invested in his pure devotees. So Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura was demonstrative about this mood of preaching. He considered it the highest level of devotional service. And he also had shown that those who would prematurely try to enter into the topics of the exchanges of love between Kṛṣṇa and his intimate devotees in Vrindavan, this spontaneous, this idea of prematurely entering in, he considered to be illegal in the Gaudiya Math. And this mantra that he had composed says that we keep that conception above our heads and we worship it from here. And while we're here, we work to engage all the energies in the service of the Lord. In fact, in Vrindavan, Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura said that we don't stay at Radhakund. We live down the road from Radhakund and keep it in our worshipable purview. And we'll stay at Govardhan Hill and we'll worship Radhakund from a distance. It was part of the mood, and in that mantra that he sang, he mentioned that, and also in our songbook we've included the Gaudiya Mas logo. And you'll find that in the logo is the printing press. Actually, there's a lot going on in this logo. Nowadays, you just get a swoosh or a circle or something like that. And I don't think a modern consultant would say, oh yeah, this is a great logo. It's got about 50 things going on here and all kinds of mantras inside. But he packed it up to show these are our values, this is our mood, and this is our mission. And you'll find here that the printing press, right above the printing press in the section of the logo where the printing press is, says Raga, Ragmarg. So he equated the preaching of Krishna consciousness, the printing of books and so forth, and reaching out to poor fallen conditioned souls to be the method of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he also encouraged his disciples in that way. So when Śrīla Prabhupada came here and met his Guru Maharaj, he immediately began his journey of emulating his mood and method, which he did when he came to America. And in America, when the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita was first produced, 1975, Prabhupada had been on a marathon since he was 70 years old, 69. Even before that, to prepare to come to the West, to follow the order of his spiritual master. He had produced the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam up to the 10th canto, 13th chapter, and Bhagavad-gītā and all the other books. And then what a big push for the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Just after it came out in Los Angeles around 1975, some of the devotees began reading the Chaitanya Charitamrita and gravitated artificially to various sections of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, saying that these were more important than the other sections. That is, they would find parts which are plentiful in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, especially in the Antya-lila, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has been given permission by Advaitacharya, who had sent him a note saying, the marketplace is flooded, and so nobody needs the product anymore. And then Kaviraj Goswami said he went into his pastimes, became like that of a madman in ecstasy. In many of those sections, there's descriptions of the exchange of love of the residents of Vrindavan. As much as Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura had warned his disciples to be careful about prematurely entering into such topics, thinking themselves qualified to do so, and urging them to be engaged in practical preaching work here in this world. Even devotees of our Śrīla Prabhupada then had formed a group called the Gopi Bhava Club, which had about 25 men and 25 women who were exclusively devoted to reading certain sections of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, to the exclusion of other books which they considered to be less important. And Prabhupada noticed that mood and had disbanded the group, giving them the same kinds of warnings that his spiritual master had given, not only in that mantra, but regularly to his disciples. That one cannot barge in to those topics in an academic way or considering oneself to be qualified. Prabhupada pointed out that those who were exclusively reading those parts were not qualified, and he gave several examples of the interactions devotees have had with one another, saying this is not appropriate. And he was stern about it, to say the least. So along with the romantic ideas of our legacy and how Prabhupada sailed across the ocean and the movement has spread, come a host of possible stumbling blocks just as after Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had left the world, many different deviant groups had sprung up just from starting from slight deviations and then ending up universes apart from the mood and mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So in a similar way, yoga nashta parantapa, even at the time Kṛṣṇa was speaking in the Bhagavad-gītā, there's a way in which he said, the whole thing's been lost. The whole mood mission of the Vedas has been lost. I'm going to re-speak it. At the time when the Bhagavatam was spoken, even Śrīla Vyasadeva was searching for the essential point. And that's what the great Ācāryas do. They bring out the essential points, not just in tattva or in rasa, but also in mood and mission. So when we come here, it's important to remember that the Ācāryas are also our guardians in giving us the guidelines to follow as we move forward. And it's helpful to realign ourselves with the mood of the great Ācāryas, the mood of Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura, by studying his teachings and the guidance that he gave. Because we're limited in time, I won't go on much more. But I will say that Śrīla Prabhupada adhered to the mood and mission of his spiritual master ultra rigidly. And those who were close to him, that is close to Śrīla Prabhupada, they will tell us that it wasn't all fun and games, because it's the nature of this world to want to engage in fun and games. I was mentioning the other day, really this is coming to my last point, a song I remembered from, because of a situation I had heard about, and then, I mean, there's lots of situations, right? And you've heard of some of them. They're ongoing here in the material world. And people sing about them. And one of the lyrics was, if you forgive me, from a song that dates back to probably the 60s or 70s. The artist said, I fooled around and fell in love. And it's no joke, because the fooling around, deviating from the mood of the spiritual master, either by not following the regulative principles, or by inventing a new mood, or trying to find something better than what the Ācārya has given to enhance one's devotional service, oftentimes with the idea that it'll either be a shortcut or it'll at least be better than what everybody else is doing, who's a Mangal Arti going 16-round chanting, following 4 regulative principles, and adhering to the mood and mission. There must be some superior way to express one's devotional service that's outside of the realm of the institution and the mood and mission of the Guru. And this is also what's known as fooling around. And falling in love in the material world is no joke either, because this is a hlada tapatraya. It's the way in which one's captured as much as a fly is captured in a web. It's a gruesome sight to see the spider come out and disgorge the fly before everyone's eyes. The fly thinking that everything was rosy, and then being eviscerated by a monstrous creature. So Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta and the great Ācāryas and Śrīla Prabhupada, who had followed in his footsteps and rigidly followed his mood and mission and asked us to follow the same mood and mission, saved us from fooling around. And so we shouldn't fool around, because if you fall in this material world, it could be thousands of eons before we get another chance to sit here at the feet of a master who's presenting the very essence and the mood and mission that's been passed down from Kṛṣṇa and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We have to take it seriously. It's not open for meddling. This is the mood of Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta. He inculcated this into his disciples. Śrīla Prabhupada brought that mood, and we'd best find out what that is and be aligned with that mood so that we can be successful in our life. Although thousands, hundreds of thousands of devotees have come to the Kṛṣṇa consciousness movement, the path is strewn with those who have lost their way by either deviating here or there, thinking one's entitled to some kind of sense gratification, or thinking that they know better, and to find a new mood and method to take up Kṛṣṇa consciousness. So we pray to Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura, and we worship the moment that Śrīla Prabhupada met him here, and in his heart made the firm decision that I will follow the mood and mission of my Guru Maharaj, whom he accepted in his heart immediately upon hearing from him. And he did that without any deviation at any time, even to his last breath. So this is the rope that we can hold on to go back to Godhead. And this place is where that rope was extended to the world through the mood and mission of Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta, inculcated into the heart of Śrīla Prabhupada.